Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. This time around it is Friday night and it's bloody cold. I am going to have a crack at marking out some stripes. We're going to finish this off. We've got a sunny day tomorrow. It's only going to be 20, but it's going to be sunny. So we can open the door and get some heat into the back of this car and hopefully just spray this dark blue. So I'm going to have a go at marking this out and applying some tape. So this is 1/4 inch or close enough to 6mm. So I've got some 6mm fine line tape. I would have liked to have got the PVC one, but I've got the paper one. So we'll see how it goes around corners. So we'll make some marks and run our tape tonight. And then we'll let it sun itself in the morning, get nice and warm. We'll come out when conditions are prime or as good as they can be for this time of year, and we'll just give it a very quick light blast coat. I will do some of the pock marks through the dark blue into the light blue, just sort of to look like the rest of the car, how it's sort of a bit broken up. So that's the plan for tonight. Get a bit of a design done, get some tape on. I'm going to bring it down and around and sort of down on an angle like that, I think. I did sketch up some markups and sort of decided just keeping it simple. I was thinking of making it sort of go down into smaller stripes and slowly fade away, but it's going to get really busy. You've got a stripe. So I'm just going to keep it simple like the rest of the car is and just have that blue flash. I'm not going to mess around. If the lines are a bit wiggly, too bad, you know, the rest of them are as well. They're not really nice. So I've made up a tool to do the radius, so it's not really a tool, but I'm just going to stick the pencil through there and go like that, and that's going to give me as good an arc as I'm going to get. And then we'll run the tape over there, run another arc 6mm above to make that second line, and then we'll back mask and come in with some metallic blue and hit it. I'm just going to use the paint I've got. Yeah, I think I said in the other video I was thinking about doing the Ford electric blue. I had a closer look. The ducktail, the sail panels, and these are all 3 different shades of blue. So I think whatever I get is going to be what I get, and it's easy to split hairs, but yeah, I sound like a broken record, but patina car, if it doesn't match, it doesn't match. It's just going to add to the character. So we'll get into a bit of line work and see how we go from there. Yeah, well, that didn't come up as exact as I'd hoped, but that's okay. Need to be a bit more consistent with how I hold it. So we'll mark along there. It's not amazing as far as our corner goes. Pick up our body line there. Find something long enough to rule the whole way along. I'm not going to put the line the whole way along, but I just want it to line up with the back so it doesn't cross the body line, if that makes sense. So I'll get maybe do 2 or 3 points, and then I'll just stretch the tape across. So we'll find something straight, be right back. clean that off with a bit of Pixabay. So that will give us, very roughly, our first line. So I'll run some tape down along there. I'm not quite sure what to expect. I have never done this before. As you can tell, I can't even find the start of the tape, so that's my experience level. There we go. So first things first, we'll run a straight line, because what I'll do is I'll leave a tail on this so I can pull it back to cut it. And I'll leave a tail on the other end because I'm not sure what I'm going to do down there yet. I'll stand back and make sure that looks straight. Oh yeah? Come on. So I've just marked around here. We're going to end it at this bumper recess, and I think I'm just going to bring it down on an angle like that, just to sort of mimic the end of it. If I just bring it straight down, it's sort of going to be a bit of a break. So I'm going to, yeah, I'm just going to bring it down like, sort of on the same angle as the I'm literally just going to mimic that angle of that. So that'll be our paint out. We'll backmask the bumper recess and we'll backmask the top of the quarter. Jack it up, pop the wheels off, and that's it. I'm not overthinking it. I'm not going to try and, oops, sorry. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to try and get the corners any better, because I think I'm just going to end up making more of a mess. Sometimes you just leave things. So we'll backmask from here. We'll blend up to here. And that'll be us. So, pretty cool. Alright, so we're continuing with last night. We started masking up this area, so what we're going to do now is just give everything a very, very light scuff with 600 grit, just to, because I did block all this back with 1200 or 1500. We're just going to give it a light. You don't need to go overboard, we just want to promote a bit of adhesion. So I'll do the same on both sides, and then we'll just give it a light wipe off with some Pepsol or wax and grease remover. Again, none of this is a how-to, this is just what I'm doing with this particular car. I don't expect these lines to come up amazing. I'll go and do this to the other side, then we'll come back and we will start working on how we're going to blend the actual patina in. Alright, so the sun's coming over. Probably give it a couple of hours before we're ready to paint, but the sun will be right on the back of this car in the next half hour or so. So we're going to get on with trying to add some of our fake patina or blending this in. Now you can see we've got all these pock marks, or you can see all the spray putty underneath. I'm going to try and dab a bit of our magic mix onto there and try and carry that down a bit so some of the blue flecks come through. And I'm going to put some big splats on here too, just to leave some bare spots, just so it, if you have a look at the rest of it, there's lots of spots where you can see the pale blue. And I'm also going to be strategic because the mask lines are nice and sort of gentle here, and I've got a really sharp corner, so I'm going to put a splat there, and that will take the edge off that corner not being very good. Yeah, I'm owning that. It's not amazing, but it'll be fine for what we're doing here. So I'll get on that. Just I might add some, try and think of stones coming up off the wheel, so just some flicks where stones have sort of taken the paint off. I don't know, I'm just spitballing ideas, but that's my general gist. I'm going to try and replicate some of that. So if it comes up halfway decent, good. If not, it doesn't really matter. So we'll get out our magic goo and get into our work. So this is water based, so you don't want to put heaps and heaps of water on them. What you want is to dry onto the panel and go crusty and sort of build up a bit of thickness so that obviously it stands above the level of the paint. And you just give it a very, very light block and it breaks that paint through, and then that will just wash away. So I'm just splotting it down on the newspaper there and just letting some of the moisture absorb out of it into the paper, so we're putting more of the starch on than the water. This is just made with a wheat starch, I believe. So anyway, we'll start splotching. It's water based. If I put too much on or I get the pattern crap, I can just wipe it off and start again. So no drama. And start with just some pox. So you're trying to make it go on so it leaves like little pimples, not smears, because the pimples are where it builds up and takes up the thickness. So I've seen people do this sort of stuff with grease. Rock salt works on if you're doing the top of a bonnet or the top of your guards. You can use rock salt. I've even seen videos where people use mustard. That might have been excessive. I'll wipe that off and clean up again. I'm trying to get that. Just get my angle right. I'm just throwing the stuff outside. I'm not even getting the panel. That's how good I am. There we go. Just a splat like that. Not too happy with the angle, but one more try. All right, so then we'll just do some more pocks. I reckon. Not overthink it. We've got another couple of bits here we've got primer showing through, so get some dabs on there. It seems like the harder you try to be random too, the less random you are, so. Random in shape and position. So I'm still hitting my little ones up here. This side actually isn't as popped as the other side, so I don't need to go quite so. So that's what I've come up with. I'm not going to go overboard. I've just done a heap of pocks here to sort of try and ease it into the new paint. A bit of a flick up there. Yeah, the beauty is if I'm not happy with how it looks, I can always sand it off and go again, but I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not getting too carried away with it. We'll see how it comes up in a couple of hours. I can feel the heat off that sun coming in. So we'll go and do some prep on the other side. And that'll be her. All right, we've got some paint mixed up. It's nice and warm, the sun's good. So we're just gonna hit it. See how we go. I have no idea what this is gonna come out like, so if it's shit, you probably won't see this. tell straight away it's not the right shade of blue, but at this point it is what it is. So I'll demask this passenger side. Gently. Tiny little bit of tape leak at that bumper recess too, just on that edge, but that's okay. It's bugger all. The paint's a lot better on this side of the car as in the blue, so on the other side when I peeled it back a lot of the blue was coming off. It just because it's being painted straight over that 80 spray putty on that side, but bit of overspray up here, which we'll just take away with a bit of cutters. Not the end of the world. And you can see it's pulling some of that paint off, unfortunately, but I can't do a thing about it. You can see where the paint's just let go where the craft glue was in a few spots, but that's fine. It helps help me get away with the crappy corners, but what's it look like standing back? Bloody unreal. I can live with that. Like I said, I've still got to cut all that garbage out. Like I said, I'm glad I sort of brought the ending out on the same angle as the angle that the rear panel finishes off on, rather than just flat. I think it would have just looked silly just stopping. But yeah, I reckon I can live with that. So now we've just got to give it some time to cure, probably a couple of days. And then we'll go through and hit it with a sanding block and just take all of our chunks out. We'll see what we're left with. I think it's going to be awesome.
Junkified proudly presents Channel Watch.
Welcome to another edition of Channel Watch. So this time round I've been watching the last couple of weeks is a bit of Mark Bear. His channel is focused around a lot of vintage car dealership photos, a lot of vintage advertising and historical photographs. But he sort of delved into some more in-depth videos, a lot of Ford content, which is good. I'm all about Fords. Non-biased when it comes to cars, but it mixes it up a little bit. There's some Valiant stuff in there too, some Holden stuff, but the video that I really enjoyed was one of his later ones coming out in the last couple of weeks, was the video about Brian, who sold an XC Falcon Rally Pack panel van in 1994, and he bought another one. He regretted selling it, and we've all got those cars we regret selling. And he went and bought another one that was similar spec, but it was brown, not orange like the one he sold. And he done some research and found out it was the same car. So he actually got his old car back 30 years later. He's going to turn it from brown back to orange and basically recreate that car that he once owned. So I love stories like that. We've all got those cars we wish we hadn't sold and we'd love to have back. Definitely get around Mark Bear's channel. Really good. So that's Channel Watch for this week. Thanks so much for watching.
So our seam sealer has gone off nicely. There's a few little bits to clean up. I might not even bother. I didn't bother it. Sort of all over the place from the factory, but anyway, just done a couple of brush touch-ups last night. That's where we put our plugs in to hold our boot reinforcement in, and this corner here, I'm not sure if this is how it's going to stay, particularly around here, but I've just given it a very light sand back, and it's sort of, I don't know, that corner kind of bothers me, but how far do you go? So I can always address this later. The main thing is we get a bit more done and we can put the boot lid on. We don't have to worry about any of this, but outside we can do some tidying up. So anyway, all the bare metal's covered for the most part. There's a couple of tiny spots, but that's how it will live for now. So what's next? Next we're going to look at, I'll just clean some stuff out of the way, we're going to look at our parcel shelf and our back window corners and this, what's called a deck filler. Now, I think I alluded to it earlier, you can buy reproduction deck fillers, you can buy reproduction parcel shelves, but I'm very hesitant to buy replacement panels after the experiences I had with the back half of this car. I can repair this deck filler quite easily just by making up that little L-shaped piece and welding it in. My OCD doesn't like the idea of looking up underneath and seeing a weld line, but at the same time, how often is someone going to be up under here? And it's not crusty and flaky underneath. It's actually pretty nice under there. So the panel itself isn't bad. It's not thin and shit. It's rusted from the outside in. It hasn't rusted from up underneath. So all of these holes are really localized. So if I just cut outside of these holes, we've got really good metal underneath. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to make a new lip, just with a little bit of 1mm steel, put a fold in it. And I'll have to do it in sections probably, because it does have a slight curvature to it. But I think I'm going to make up a new lip and weld that in. And then I'll come in and do repairs to the parcel shelf from underneath. If I can get a second-hand parcel shelf section, I will go that way. There is one that I've got my eye on. I've just got to get the cash together, and I can use that to rebuild parts of this one. It's mainly the rear lip. I can make that, but the press features where they go around the corner are going to be very hard to replicate. Although those parts are pretty good, so I could probably even patch it. So my thought here is I'm going to start making patches for the deck filler, make patches for the parcel shelf, and if it turns out crap, I'll just cut it out and then I'll buy the repro parts. But I'm worried I'm going to buy a repro deck filler, unpick all this, damage all this original paint, have to repaint all this boot channel, and then get to the point where I've got a panel I've got to cut and dissect anyway. So I'm going to have a go at repairing it. It's going to cost me a bit of time and a tiny bit of steel. If it comes up crap, simple, we cut it out and go the repro panel route. But I'm pretty confident I can make something out of it and keep some of that original paint, not have to delve into the boot channel here. Because again, while I want the car solid, I really want to keep as much of the patina paint as I can. Obviously quarters and things like that, I had no choice. But, so a lot of this is pretty good. It's very pitted here, so there's a cardboard here that the trim goes over, and that's obviously held moisture over the years. And so there are bits of it that are average, but we'll get the seat out, we'll get the back seats out, and we'll probably pull these quarter windows out as well, given I'm going to be grinding and welding in the area. And we'll have another look. Sorry, I'm laughing. So a quick look in here. We've got a little bit to contend with in here. I'm not sure what on earth happened here, but this reinforcement has been absolutely butchered. So in the course of doing our repairs, I'll have to straighten this out and re-weld it. So I'm not sure why that was cut. I really couldn't tell you. Gonna need those. Stop tail globe, no, that's an number plate like globe and it is blown. Still got seatbelt bolts, that's a win. Anyhow, you can see the condition of it in here, it's really good. Most of this surface rust, honestly, probably happened during the time I owned the car. It sat in a shed that had a slight leak, but anyway, the floor is really, really solid. Still got seat belts there. In here looks pretty good. This side, it's obviously been cut out to do a repair on the quarter. Yeah, you can feel it's up and down in there. So, old panel beater's trick is they'll cut the inner skin out to allow them to get in and hammer and dolly inside the quarter panel. So, and they've just put a couple of welds on there. It's all oxy welded, so it's a very old repair. Not even joined there, so I'm going to straighten that out and fix that up as well in the course of my repairs. So yeah, that's inside. Still got the headliner bows, which is good. Hard thing to find. Still got the clothes hooks. So obviously the headliner was just literally ripped out. or eaten out. But yeah, a little bit thin here. Maybe we can live with that, I don't know, just for the sake of having to cut the whole lot out. I'm not sure yet, so we'll delve in and work out a plan as we go, which is kind of how we run. Yeah, some rusting behind here too, which is again very common, so I'll have to pull our gills out, excuse me, and have a look in behind there. Same on the other side, again, common spot. So, yeah. Next, we'll get the side windows out. Just we don't want them showered in grinding, excuse me, we don't want them showered in grinding sparks. I love the stickers with the triple blue. I can't remember whether these windows came with the car or whether I bought them afterwards, but they kind of suit the theme of it with the colours. But anyway, they'll probably end up having to come off for roadworthy, which is a shame. But anyway, so this is one of those 10-minute little windows of time that tend to come up, and if you're forward thinking, you can get a lot done in 10 or 15 minutes. So I always try and keep a little catalogue of jobs that I can come out and knock off real quick, especially if I've already got the tools out. So case in point this morning is this parcel shelf reinforcement. I don't know why it's been busted out. I did have a thought that maybe the car was in an accident and something's pushed out of shape, but there's no evidence of that. The quarter hasn't been changed, the wheel wells are straight, the boot floor was straight. There's no evidence of enough collision damage to rip that out, so I can only think vandalism or yeah, I don't know is the long and short of it. But it's just been clean ripped out. It's not rusty, it hasn't been cut, but it's been clean ripped out. So don't know, can't explain it, but anyway, I have just got a big block of metal behind there and straightened it out as best I can. What I'm going to do now is grind off the factory welds and the pieces that are broken off, and I'm just going to push it hard up against and re-weld it. So just a quick job, 10-minute. And I'm going to do my best not to start a fire because the seats are still in the car, but I have got them covered up. Yeah, but anyway, we'll get to grinding these old welds out. Just a little bit there, and then a big, pretty decent chunk there, and we'll get rid of all that. And yeah, lay some fresh welds in, we'll just push it up. It's not going to be perfectly neat, but it's under the seat. So we'll get into that. Alright, we'll get the zippy wheel and just do a bit more of a clean up around the edges, and then we'll plonk her in. So I noticed filler there, so I thought I'd have a look underneath and see what's going on. And what you can see up there, you can see the heat mark from where I've been grinding, but there is actually a splotch of filler that goes through. So I'm not sure why there will be a repair there. Again, there is no evidence of accident damage under here. Nothing's out of shape. So I think, yeah, I don't know. It really doesn't make sense. But anyway, so we'll grind all that out and straighten it out a bit before we weld it. So now I've got a good example of a 10-minute job turning into a half-an-hour job. So there's that side of it as well. So I got onto the back with a hammer and actually bet that dent out, and the piece of filler that was in there has come out. So we'll just clean this last little bit of the surface up. We'll flatten that dent out and we'll just weld it all together as well, and that'll be that dent closed up, the filler gone, and this reinforcement back in place. So I'll get a couple of tacks in and we'll clean it all up. Should be good. Just gave it a bit more of a clean up. So I'll get a tack along here. I'll secure it along here first, and we'll start cleaning up the shape a bit and hammer it all in as we go and tie it back in how it's meant to be. So good to get this one off the list quickly. Okay, let's go. Okay. So we go, a bit of primer that'll hold it over until we actually finally do some paint prep, because I am going, like I said, I'm going to paint inside the car. I've decided, after pulling the back seat out and seeing the painting here was actually really nice when I got the car. Yeah, so it has deteriorated a little bit. There was obviously, I thought it was a leak in the roof of the shed at Mum and Dad's where this car was kept, but I think it might be more to do with rodent activity. Particularly when you look at there, it's not a spot where water would pool, but then you go and look at the back seat and you've got rust in that area. So we'll have to replace a couple of these rods on the back seat with just some 5 or 6 mil rod, probably these 3 to be honest, and 4. So there's going to be a bit of work to do on these seats. And maybe one over the other side. So I reckon rodents were living in here, and that's all piss damage. So delightful. All right, so this has had a couple of full days to go off. As you can see, it's way too shiny for the rest of the car. So we're going to give it a light block back with 1500. It's late in the arvo and they've got a little bit of time. We've just come back from the Lake Goldsmith Steam Rally, which has been the most excellent day out with the family. So just sneaking a bit here, we're just going to hit this with the 1500 and see how it looks once we peel off some of that crustiness. You can see that just flicks off, and we'll just leave some random spots in the blue. So we'll give it a light blocking and see what we end up with. So we're not looking to feather the edges of any of these bits. We want it to look sort of sharp and naturally broken. And we also want to take the gloss off it, so we're just giving it the whole lot, just a very light, not going crazy. A bit of a dry off. Mission complete.